Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite and one of the weirdest albums I heard last year, Slauson Malone One's album, Excelsior. It seems that now, with so many more people getting into music, the term experimental is kind of thrown around all over the place, but very few albums kind of live up to that name for me, and this album is one of those truly experimental experiences. Today I want to dive into what I think some of the lyrics mean, as well as what some of the instrumentals have to do in terms of playing into the themes of the album. So if you've listened to the album before, hopefully this provides some insight that is difficult to pick up on a first listen. And if you've never heard the album before, I'm still going to be diving into a lot of the messages to it, and it'll still be useful considering that this album hasn't been talked about a ton, and not a lot of people have listened to it. So if that sounds interesting to you, stick around as I dive in depth into this album and kind of talk about the messages, and hopefully you all get something out of this. So this album is best understood when you break it up into parts. And I'm going to break it down this way so it's a little easier to understand and visualize. So part one begins with the song The Weather. And this album actually starts on a much calmer and much quieter tone than Slauson's last album. If you've heard that, it just kicks off the bat with pure chaos. This one is definitely a lot smoother. The Weather has a single loop going throughout the track that Slauson has actually said he discovered on complete accident.
Song The Weather, which was started as a complete mistake I made a tape loop and I just had some sound playing out of my computer, and then that was just what the tape loop got that's just what it recorded.
What this loop does is it's a constant rise of a siren and then an abrupt stop. And that's going to be something we see a lot on this album, where something will randomly start and then just randomly end for no real reason. But that's just kind of something you get used to as the album progresses. On the bright side, this is a really beautiful loop, though. And it kind of sounds like almost like a distant siren calling out, like over an ocean landscape or something. Like constant calling out only for it to end abruptly. Now, it's difficult to pin down what exactly this song means, and you're probably going to hear me say that a lot throughout this video, but in simple terms, this song is just about the world ending. The lyrics start like this. Digging holes, mining souls, sludge to smoke, buried bone, extraction coal, takes its toll, Texaco melts the cold, now seasons old, Roman roads mislead me home. Now, Slauson, he's on his environmentalism, Leonardo DiCaprio shit with these metaphors. For example, Texaco, digging up the oil, the planet's ending. And this kind of pairs with the idea that the narrator doesn't know where to go in this broken world. He says, Roman roads mislead me home. He cries out to the listener asking, where I go, where will I go? Bring me home. The world around him is breaking, and he doesn't know where to go or where to search for answers. That's a lot for just an intro track. But don't worry, we only got 17 more tracks to go. So let's jump into track two. Now, track two is the only real banger on the album. It actually uses the same loop as the first song, but this time adds a beat over the top of it. And I wonder if this is going to be something we see as the album continues on. Now, compared to The Weather, this song actually has a much lighter theme of waiting for the world to end and wasting your body away in the meantime. Waiting any day now for the end of days. Weather's always strange. In the wake, in the grave, black. Turn my brain into drain. Waste away kitchen plates. I'm a rip, limb by limb, open lips, lick, salty shoulder chips, stomach stitched, nervous fix. So here again, you could see how Slausen's bringing up the weather again, how it's always strange, and in the wake of this, he feels like he's in the grave, like the world's already dead. And as a result, he's wasting away. He's turning his brain into mush that he's flushing down the drain. And he's going to rip himself up limb by limb because of this world around him. Additionally, this song reuses some of the lyrics from the first song and completes the question that Slausen was originally asking. Where I go, waiting any day now, weather's always strange now. I'm waiting, 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 waiting for a change to come in. So this song ultimately is reinforcing the idea that the world is ending, and we're just going to waste away in the meantime. We're going to resort to things like house music, the name of the song, and drugs to turn our brains into mush. And Slausen is saying he's just waiting for some sort of change to come, and he doesn't know what it is. But in the meantime, he's just going to tear himself and the world apart because it's broken. Now I should probably mention that this album isn't really like an album. It's almost like one big song. I know I said I was splitting up into parts before, and maybe that's true. Maybe we could put it into 4 big songs, but we've already seen a lot of reuse of instrumentals or reuse of lyrics, and that doesn't change. Constantly, songs will use aspects of other songs. And it's trippy. It will make you question if you've already heard a song before, because it's just constantly repeating. And the same thing goes with the lyrics on this album. It's almost like a big puzzle you're trying to fit back together because Slausen kind of made something and then he broke it up. And we're here to pick up the pieces. So if I say anything that you disagree with the lyrics, this is simply just my interpretation. And you could take what you want out of it, but I think it's interesting that, this album is so broken but so complete at the same time. So if you do decide to listen to it from this point forward, just understand you're not going to pick certain songs out of it. It really is just one complete work. There isn't much to say about track 3, Undercommons. It's just an instrumental that leads up to Old Joy. But it is there, and it kind of sounds like Minecraft music. Old Joy is the real song here. It starts by continuing the instrumental, the Minecraft instrumental we just heard from Undercommons, but then again adds lyrics and instruments to the back of it. It starts off calm and then builds up to an eruption. And this is the point in the album where Slausen finally decides that he is done. He is done wasting away in the world, and he is done with with all the terrible things in the world. He says, "Don't waste on pain. You blew in the face. Everything's gonna be all right. That's what I make. This is my fate. Running, running, running. My world's on wheels, and I'm spinning on skates." And this is the first point in the album where we hear about a different character. Slausen says, "You play a part. To place your arms at your side. In my eyes, you're safe. In my arms, you're safe. I'll be here at your side." So it sounds like Slausen is either talking to the person who is singing in the weather and house music, or he has found someone to change his viewpoint that he had on those 2 tracks. Either way, there's more questions that will hopefully be answered as the album goes on, but we're starting to see a little bit of a story pick up here. All right, everyone, here we go. The first real song on the album. It also happens to have the weirdest video I have ever seen. And guess what, guys? This song is happy too. It's got this cheerful little "hey, hey" that goes on in the background, coupled with a little nice drum loop and some cheery guitar. Man, I was in my music bag when I was writing that one. In terms of themes, it actually goes back to the last song where there's that one person that's changing Slausen's outlook on the world. He says, Loyalty gets the best of me. Shot collar rings, I'll do anything. Call me bipolar, I'm a sun solar, self-centered. Put me on a pedestal, you obstacle. Um, Vegetable feed, tentacles, hentai, who the hero in my head, that's a mirror full. As you can see, this album is a little hard to dig into, but Slausen's basically saying like he feels like he is the center of attention. He is the sun of the universe. Uh, but still, like loyalty gets the best of him, and you know, relationship is like a shot collar ring. It holds him down, and he'll do anything for this person. He even says, "Inside the brain, baby, be my bride forever." He wants this person of interest to see him in the same way he sees them. So this song also ends with lines just echoing of "It's all a ride." You know, this journey of love. It's up and down. Like he feels like he's the center of attention, but at the same time, he wants this person, you know, to love him back. And the music kind of mirrors that because it's super happy and cheery, but it ends with one of the most chaotic and energetic parts of the entire album, where these drums are constantly building to a point of climax and then a slow, abrupt end. And maybe this symbolizes like sex he's having with the person, or maybe it symbolizes the love that he has for this person building up, and the rising tension between them, ending with both of them finally accepting one another. Overall, this song is great. It's one of my favorites on the album, and it's probably one of my favorite songs of 2023. All right, we made it to the end of the first part. Hopefully, you guys are still watching. And to conclude this first half, we have a short little interlude with a little bit of a faint instrumental that borrows from from New Joy. So this song kind of just concludes the last song that ended with that big rise, and it just kind of shows the deterioration of that instrumental. The song only has one lyric, and it's "Honey, hold me close inside your arms to heal your heart." So that one line, "Honey, hold me close inside your arms to heal your heart," that actually reinforces the title of the song, being arms and armor, saying that his arms around this person, it's like armor shielding him from that broken world we were talking about earlier. Um, you know, and that's kind of beautiful in a way. So to conclude the first part of this album, so far we just have a guy that was fed up with the world and was wasting away, um, but he eventually found new hope or new joy with this newfound love. And we'll see where this takes us, hopefully to a happy ending. All right, to kick off the second part of the album, we get a really creepy interlude that's barely even a song. This song isn't as eventful as old ones like House Music or New Joy, but honestly, I love this song so much, and it may be one of my favorites on the album. Um, it's just spoken word with an eerie instrumental palette behind it, but it kind of reminds me of the Hell's Kitchen slide whistle, and I just think it's really funny.
Gwaethaf pawb a phopeth.
The lyrics in this song translate to "Despite everyone and everything, we are still here." This is just reinforcing kind of the last song that Slauson and his lover are still together despite the horrors of the world. And interestingly, this song is another voice from Slauson. It's like a woman singing this song. So therefore, I think that this is the partner speaking to Slauson after all the things he said in the other songs. So for the first time, we're getting an outside perspective um, on Slauson, but it doesn't give us much to go off of, and just kind of shows us that these two love each other, and that's what's keeping them going in this terrible world. And with that, we are at my favorite song on the album. This is actually the song that made me want to dig into this album more, and where a lot of the confusion had originally hit me. I would recommend you guys check out this whole album, um, or maybe just from here on out to see what it is like. But I'm gonna still try to do my best to explain what I think is happening. But this is really the point where confusion and interpretation is going to change for a lot of people. Uh, so let's kind of dig into this. This song demands that you read the lyrics, or at least pay attention to figure something out. Slauson is speaking this two stanza poem over what sounds like a double bass or maybe a synthesizer uh, to replicate a double bass. Um, and while this is going on, he's whispering every word. It gives the vibe of like extreme intimacy and personal connection. I think that this song is background to how Slauson met his lover that he's talking about on this album, but as you guys will see, it's a little more confusing than that. I remember the first time I saw you. It was November. Strip Club LA, walls fade, nocturnal landscape. Venue a convert, aisle stage, atomic mass, curdled face. So Slauson here is going into details about the person, but at the same time, he's confused and he's trying to recall who exactly they were. Um, as we see at the beginning of verse 2, Slauson says, I remember the first time I saw you, it was November. Backstage festival, on top stadium, on top mountain. So here Slauson is countering what he said earlier. He has the month right still, but he's getting the rest of the facts wrong. Did he meet them at a strip club in LA? Or did he meet them at a backstage festival? Is it two different people? He's recounting this like he's almost drunk or on some type of drug that he was abusing when he was talking about wasting away because, he has those basic facts of when it happened and maybe the environment he was in, but he can't remember specifics. He actually leans into this on some of the lyrics on the second song, or in the second verse. Last sex burned as ours in CD-ROM. Want this tan forever. Bits slip, lots buffering, spilling with uncertainty. Uncertainty, certain. Arcane face amongst known unknowns. Almost important, almost. I search face, but you stay nameless. The archive is useless. So Slauson here is literally trying to say he's trying to retrieve this memory that is slowly fading away. And he's comparing this to computer memory, CD-ROM. How like bits of this memory, like literal zeros and ones, are being, corrupted almost, and he can't quite remember what this person's name was or what their face was. And I just want to say, I'm ignoring a lot of the lyrics on this song, such as 80,000 Moseses hearing the good word, or too sublime horizon or entropy, energy body phantom. I don't understand these lyrics. Maybe some of you guys who have heard the album can help me out in the comments, but really the best I got is Slauson, he has this relationship with a lover, but it went away, and he's just trying to remember who this person was. He's trying to connect a name to a face, but due to his substance abuse, he's forgetting, and like a computer, he can't recall back certain memories that are being corrupted. Um, this song kind of goes against a lot of the later songs as well, so it's difficult to say exactly what Slauson is trying to get here. But like I said at the beginning, I think this is just background, and it doesn't necessarily indicate a certain point that we're at in this album where the lover is gone. But yeah, hopefully you guys could help me out with this one. Hold up, guys. Actual song alert. So this song almost starts out of nowhere and follows what could be considered as an actual song structure. It has a good vocal performance and a nice guitar backed to it. And this song is all about sex. Sorry, I'd love to give a deep dive into this song, but I really think it is just about him having sex with his lover again. And that's kind of all that this relationship consists of. He says, the hole so deep, so deep, so deep. Rewind, repair, repeat. The hole, so deep, so deep. Oh, the heat, the heat. The cracks exposed, the waterworks for power. Come on. Hole, deep, waterworks, the cracks, the heat. I I just see this as sex. Maybe it's something deeper, like his love, or something like that. But I can't see anything else besides sex. But at the same time, Slauson says how much he enjoys spending his time with his lover. He says, "Falling out the sky, you and I beside now. Eye for eyes, we combine now." So he almost feels like he is one with this person. And the song ends with the waves going on and on. Uh, the lines, the waves are going on and on, showing that the relationship is currently in a happy place of just a cycle of love and sex and dependence on one another. So right now we're happy, and we'll see where this takes us. All right, the next two songs, "The Great Wedge" and "I Hear a New World," they're kind of one song put together. The Great Wedge is literally just a drum roll that leads up to the beginning of "I Hear a New World," which is just a bunch of random chaos and sirens and what sounds like a cartoon show or something. Now, this random chaos actually serves as the perfect beginning to the weirdest song on the entire album. Slauson has said that this song is supposed to be weird and uncomfortable, uh, considering that all the lyrics are repeated multiple times, but with increasingly pitched vocals. It's almost like intrusive thoughts are just ramming into Slauson's head. Uh, at least that's the vibe I get. Let's look at these lyrics. "I hear a new world, haunting me, so strange and surreal, taunting me. How do I tell? What's in store for us? I forget." I think this marks the first doubt that Slauson has. This new world could be a new person of interest that Slauson is leaving his lover for. He is contemplating that the world is better away from his current lover. Something like the grass is always greener. And he is being tempted. This is reinforced by those vocal repetitions. The doubt that this new world could be so much better, and it's just constantly hitting him in his head. So for the first time on this album, we have a bit of doubt. Or this new world could be the world with the lover, and everything I just said is irrelevant. And he's just a little nervous about this new world, considering he's used to the horrible old world. Either way, kind of confusing, but we're starting to get some doubt in Slauson. This moves us on into the final part, or the final song in this part, "No." And this song just makes me want to dance, man. Slauson's singing is so good on it, especially when it comes to the internal voices he's speaking from the perspective of. And this instrumental is so bouncy and fun. It sounds like an 8-bit game, like something I'd see on Celeste or something like that. I absolutely love it. I recommend you guys check this song out. It's one of the more normal songs on the album. And lyrically, it talks a lot about the temptation that we heard in the last song. This time we hear Slauson talking about his struggles even more. He says, "I've got this feeling down in my belly. It's growing and growing. Won't stop it from showing. I first swore it was nothing, then felt it coming. Got us running, save us. I hear it saying, I'm so hungry. Feed me. Eat your county and your country down in your boundary." I feel like this hunger he feels is maybe another partner, or just some type of sexual relationship outside of his current relationship. And eating the country refers to his current relationship that he's in. Um, it could also mean that he's eating up the old world that had consumed him, uh, and that hunger is maybe the love he feels to his current partner. So either way, this is some pretty sad stuff echoed over a pretty happy instrumental, which is those are typically my favorite types of songs. Uh, and man, I love this album seriously. Uh, I don't care if you like can't play it in the car or like around your friends or whatever, um, or the fact that it just sounds experimental as hell. I feel like this album really illustrates how good creative music could be, and how like good experimental music could be. I really hope you guys check it out if you like that weirder type of stuff. But I also get it's not for everyone. But anyways, we're halfway done. Let's move on to the penultimate part of this album. More than any other point in the album, we have all these songs coming together to form almost like one big song. And I know I've said that a lot, but these next few songs is a bigger example than anything before, and that's because of one loop that's set up in Destroyer X. And I'll play a little clip of it here, but this loop actually carries all of the songs in this part together. It sounds a little bit like Christmas, um, but it's hard to explain. But when you hear the album, this loop is going to stick in your mind because of how much Slauson uses it to kind of tape all these songs together. Voyager, on the other hand, is really the last stereotypical normal song on the album. It starts with radar pings, kind of sounding like Slauson is searching for something, or he's a Voyager, you know. When I hear these pings, I think of that like nerd meme where the sonar is going off and the nerd emoji pops up. That's basically what it sounds like. Not that that has anything to do with the album, but that's what I'm talking about here. After the sonar, that loop that I was talking about kicks in, and we finally get some lyrics from Slauson. Let me be, leave me be. Need me peace, need a peace. Mind at ease, so I sleep. Bring me dreams, bring me dreams. Pretty self-explanatory. Here, Slauson is looking for some type of peace. He's asking for dreams of this peace. Let's move on to more lyrics here. Ah, shit. Here we go again. Wind sounds got me wondering, because the skies is howling and thundering. Forest fires paint my world. Alizarian? Take a dive as the water rise. Fake like we doing fine. Kids will probably be alright. Our lives is bad times, but we making good times. Better than those other times. Imagine 1649. If you guys tune out on some of the lyrics when I'm reading them, these lyrics remain a staple for the next few following songs. And as we could see, Slauson is kind of playing back into those environmental themes that we were talking about earlier in the album. But why are we getting this now? We were so focused on this relationship for the last few parts of the album, and Slauson didn't really seem to care about the destruction of the world. But here, we're starting to get lines of how terrible the world is. He's still finding some hope in the world. He's saying our lives, there may be bad times, but it's better than 1649, probably. And the song ends with Slauson contemplating life while driving on the highway, with the chorus again coming back in to finish off the song. But this really seems like a point where Slauson is looking at the bad parts of the world, and unlike before where he turned to drugs or whatever to cope with the world, he's saying, you know what, maybe it's not so bad. Maybe this is actually pretty good times we're making here. And maybe that's his new lover offering that new perspective in his life. Either way, pretty interesting stuff and some hopeful lyrics for once on this album. Let's hop into the next song. Now, I know I said this with Love Letter, but Divider is a song that does change a lot of meaning on this album. I'm going to go more in depth in the analysis, but it's an interesting one to dive into. And it is mainly just an instrumental with some pretty difficult to understand lyrics. It gives me actually vibes similar to Garden Shit by Tyler the Creator off Flower Boy. I know you guys have heard that album before. And it's kind of a very similar sound where Slauson's being introspective. XX, XY, triple nucleic lens, rip the slit, fission, fission. Rip the Slit is interesting because it's a reference to a song by Arca that actually deals with gender identity and breaking out of societal norms, which is interesting because XX and XY also correspond to, sex, boy and girl. Um, so we're kind of starting to see this idea of gender starting to show up in the album. Let's move on. Dirty Groove, You to Me to You. Pink and Blue, We Don't Have to Choose. Pink and Blue. Again, we're talking about gender here. Slauson goes on to say, your love, your touch, your couch lumps, your pillow bumps, that was us. So Slauson is going back to talk about that partner he was having. And this time he's saying it's not about the gender of that person, and more so the love that they provided. Interesting stuff here. The song ends then by kicking up the loop from the previous song that I keep mentioning and adding even more cryptic lines. Fill me up, fill my lungs, got me speaking tongues, turn my to someone crying to the sun. So maybe fill up my lungs refers to drugs again, smoking. I don't know. Maybe he doesn't even know how to think. He's cutting himself off. He's speaking in tongues. Right now, he seems like he's contemplating something with this partner. He's saying, it doesn't matter who you are. It's the love that's bringing me back. And that's what's making me remember you. And this is kind of something we haven't seen yet in the album. Let's finish this part off with the final song, Challenger. And this song is interesting because Slauson is challenging a lot of the thoughts he has had in this specific part of the album, often repeating lyrics in a new light over a broken and distorted version of that loop I was talking about. I have a lot to say about this, and I'm going to need to talk about the lyrics, so I apologize, but we're going to be doing a lot of reading here. Bring me dreams, bring me stars. Your shine cast shade, made me pale in the face. Your shine cast shade, put me in a shallow, deeper place. Causing doubts, causing droughts. No more tears till I crack. Kronos on my back. So these first few lines are repeated calls from other songs on the album, where he's asking to bring him dreams. He is speaking to someone about how their shine is causing Slauson to question himself, questioning all the bad he's seen in the world, and pulling him in and out of these shallow and deep emotions. He's saying he has no more tears or time to give to this person and his negative thoughts. But who is this person he is talking about? Well, let's find out on this next little verse. Father, are you out there? Father, searching, is you out there? Am I a good son? Eyes a blinding star. Take a dive, take a dive. Take it dive as the water rise. Are we still alive? Are we going to be all right? Our lives are bad times, but we make them good times. Better than the other times, I imagine. That's right. Slauson is talking to God on the song. Slauson is calling out to God and asking if they're even out there, or if the world is going to be okay. Is Slauson going to be okay? And again, we see Slauson acknowledging that the times he is in are bad, but he's saying that, they're good, and maybe they're better than the times before it. And again, these are things he's questioning to God. He's saying, are we going to be all right? Are these times really the good times? It seems like Slauson is going back and forth on some of these thoughts, even in this song. Calling out to God for answers to questions Slauson doesn't even know how to ask. Again, he was speaking in tongues, and he's just calling out to the void. The song ends on two final lines. Dreams of the new world, but haunted by the old one. Where are we going to run when that's the slave's cause? Again, we hear Slauson talking about a new world and his fears that will come with it. Maybe the new world is that partner we heard about earlier, and maybe it's just a better world than the one we live in. Still, Slauson is having doubts, and he's hesitating that drive and that love that he has. And this is just him kind of talking to the void, talking to God, not directly to his partner. Sorry, that was a lot, but we're done with this part. It opens a lot of questions for the end of the album, but let's finish this thing off so I could stop yapping. All right, here we are, the final song, really, of the album, Decades, Castle Romeo. We get the sounds of the double bass we heard from Love Letter again to start this song, which means some emotional shit is about to go down. This song is pretty emotional, vocal wise. Slosson's voice is great on this song, and these are really his last cries on this album. Let's get into these lyrics. Build a wall around me, out of steel and concrete. This is living. City ceilings storied. Book of buildings hoarding. Tangled wreckings waiting. Place the base of property orgies. Phallic designs stretch through erected skies. So this is the point where Slauson is shutting himself off from the world around him, deciding to build his own tower around him, shutting off the rest of the world. It's phallic in design, and it's echoing similarities that we heard from that strip club on Love Letter. So we have that double bass, and now we have that phallic imagery that he was using. Do you still remember that song, or did TikTok kill your attention span? Sorry. Let's keep going. A junkie's packed. Count the cracks. Call them crumbles. This is packs. Not packs, like you know from the gaming convention. Different type of packs. Castle in the sky. Still getting eyed. I want to see you down. If you down, is you down? Is you down? Traveling the clouds, yeah. Way off the ground, yeah. I want to see if you down. If you down, is you down? Is you down? So Pax actually translates to peace from Latin. So Slauson is saying that this castle he built in the sky, away from the world, is peace. He's left the world and said, screw it, I'm abandoning this, and I'm going to shut myself off in this tower. And he's asking the listener in a growing aggressive tone to join him. This is potentially the partner from before saying, this is a tower that I built for us, to shut us off from the rest of the world, and I want you to come here with me. Are you down for that? But let's continue on with the last real verse of the album. Build a tower on me, out of eyes and armies, see everything. From my stories analyze, moonstar lights so bright I could find you. Your mind is mine, shoot us into space now, decades of a new world, love me forever. Here Slauson has successfully gotten his lover into the castle, and now he wishes to launch this tower into the new world he's been dreaming of, fueled by the love he has with his partner. And the song actually ends with an upbeat instrumental of that bass. So it sounds like Slauson, where he's been contemplating how great the world truly is, he said, the world is terrible, and what makes it great are these good times. And I have this lover with me that's making, this world a better place. I'm going to build a tower that may be erotic and phallic to some people, but it's what I relate to my lover, and this is what's special to me. And it doesn't matter what the rest of the world is, this is my tower. Let's finish this thing off, shall we? Final song, Us, Tower of Love. It's mostly a guitar instrumental with some words uttered throughout. And this is similar to some of Slauson's old albums, if you've listened to those. But we just get a single refrain where Slauson is saying, I'm you, over and over again. Finally finishing with the final word of the album, Excelsior, the title. God, isn't that shit poetic? So this could only mean that Slauson now feels one with his partner and ends the album with the title Excelsior, which actually means growing and expanding upwards, showing that he feels love and the new world has nowhere to go but upwards. And that's it. Pretty intense and weird album with no real conclusion, but let's try to figure this thing out before I call it quits. Now, before I keep talking about what I think, why don't we get the artist himself to explain to us what he thinks about the album?
Excelsior is my second album. It loosely follows the story of a person who finds the sword that doesn't stop growing in their possession, and then the album ends with the sword becoming so long that it splits the earth in half.
Of course, what he says is cryptic, but it kind of makes sense. The narrator wanted the world to be destroyed, as we saw in the first two songs, and here we're seeing him take that metaphorical sword that Slauson was talking about, and he's using it to cut the world in half. Uh, that sword is probably the love we've been talking about on this album. Now, with that being said, let's talk about what I think, because that's so important. Uh, Firstly, this album, it's very cryptic, and what I get out of it, it may mean something entirely different for someone else. That's why I encourage you guys to listen to it again if you like weird experimental stuff, but you don't have to. So I'm just letting you guys know. I don't want to, uh, you know, stir up any emotions with anyone because they got something out of it that I didn't. Music is subjective, of course. So take what I say with a grain of salt. So obviously, there is some sort of idea of environmentalism seen in this album. We see it in the weather and house music throughout the album. The world, something is going wrong with it. You know, climate change, politics, and Slauson, he's generally upset with the world and the state of it. You know, he's abusing substances, he's coping, he's calling out to God, asking for a better world. Uh, Yet he keeps the idea that there is something greater on the horizon. Um, you know, he may say some sad stuff on this album, but ultimately he acknowledges that the past was probably worse than it is today. And, you know, he's just looking for that thing that will make the world better. But what is that thing? So, my first theory is the partner. So, Slauson is obviously directing a lot of this album to someone. Um, and I really have two ideas. The first one is an actual partner that Slauson has found. Um, it was originally a purely sexual relationship that was confusing and fueled by drugs, and he had difficulty keeping track of who it was. Um, but he still knew that he loved this person. I think that this person may be a man or a transgender person due to Slauson's constant references of gender on this album, such as in songs like Challenger. Yet, he wants to enforce the idea that these societal bounds people place on someone doesn't affect the love he has for this person. And that the love he has for this person is so strong that it's breaking. It's the sword that is breaking the world around him. And that's what's going to make him able to build a new tower in a new world, is that love he has for that person. So in this idea, Slauson is not only rejecting the horrible climate and politics of the world, but he's also rejecting societal norms, saying, I love this person for who they are, and they've changed my life, and that's what's important. So that's just one idea. My other theory is that maybe Slauson is actually struggling with loving himself on this album, and there is no partner. The partner is Slauson and his new identity. Maybe that's why he has so much difficulty recalling one particular partner or meeting event for that partner on Love Letter. Maybe all of his questions are directed towards his own thoughts and his own gender insecurity. Therefore, he's going to shut the world off around him and build a tower to become who he truly wants to be, since he's isolated in the tower away from the rest of the world. And maybe that's why the final words on the album are I'm you. You know, he's telling us here, I am the you I've been talking about. I'm the one who's struggling with who I am and my securities within the world. But I've learned to accept who I am and who I want to be. And that is going to be my tower. It may be ugly, it may be phallic, but that is who I am. And I'm ignoring the rest of the world. And I think that that is equally as powerful as the first theory. And maybe perhaps there was a lover involved, and that's why Love Letter is here. And that's what caused him to truly realize who he was. Maybe the lover pushed him to feel the way he feels, to accept himself, and maybe to distract him from how evil and derogatory the world was, because this person was there to support them. And the end of the album shows that Slauson has finally accepted who he is in the world. Or maybe this isn't supposed to mean anything at all. I mean, I just talked about this for however long this video is, and I appreciate you staying for the ride, but as you guys could tell, I don't have the answers. Slauson is a legitimate artist, and he is cryptic in real life and in his music. Maybe he put something in the album just because he liked it, and I'm digging too deep into some of the sounds. Either way, this album, it's not everything, it's not something that everyone is going to like. It's not an album I play all the time, but it made me ask a lot of questions, which I love. I know music nerds get a weird rep online for digging too deep into certain things, but sometimes you do come across a special album that forces you to dig deeper and inspires you to make your first YouTube video. So I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you guys for watching. Leave in the comments what you guys think about this album. Maybe some albums that you really enjoyed that were a little weird, and I'll check them out. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoy. I'll see you in the next one.
I am always thinking about like untrusting of self-sufficiency as a mode of art making, or like the idea of a masterpiece or something that can be fully self-sustaining. I like leaky things, things that are kind of maybe oozing out on one side, or leak into something else, or the feeling of general incompleteness. Because I think then it will hopefully inspire someone to keep searching, rather than feeling like they've arrived at the end, Also, I just feel like a theme is never really finished. Even though you might finish a song, there's probably elements in there that you might want to reconsider.